You ever see a giant skyscraper going up and just think, how? How do they even begin to guess what that's all going to cost? I mean, before anyone even breaks ground, there has to be a rock-solid plan for the money. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that financial blueprint. We're going to see exactly how these huge, complex projects get priced out with, well, incredible precision.
And that's the real challenge, right? You've got these detailed architectural drawings, but how do you turn that into a budget you can actually trust? You're basically pricing a ghost, something that doesn't even exist yet. And if you get it wrong, oh, that can be a financial disaster. So what's the secret? How do the pros solve this massive puzzle? It all comes down to one super important document, the Bill of Quantities, or as pretty much everyone calls it, the BOQ.
So here's what we've got on tap. We're going to break down what a BOQ actually is and why it's such a big deal. Then we'll get into how they're made, some of the common and really costly mistakes to avoid, and then we'll wrap up by looking at where all this is headed. You know, the future of costing.
Okay, first things first. Let's get right into the fundamentals.
So, at its simplest, you can think of a bill of quantities as like the ultimate shopping list for a construction project. But honestly, it's way more than just a list. It's this super detailed, itemized document that spells out everything. We're talking every single brick, every cubic meter of concrete, right down to the hours of labor needed for each task. This massive breakdown is what everything is built on. I mean, it's the foundation for estimating the total cost, and it's absolutely crucial when companies start bidding for the job.
And yeah, a document this important doesn't just write itself. It's put together by a total specialist, a professional known as a quantity surveyor, or QS for short. These folks are basically the financial wizards of the construction industry. Their whole job is to take those architectural drawings and technical specs and translate them into a language of numbers and costs.
Okay, so right about now, you're probably thinking, hang on, isn't this just a fancy name for a materials list? And that's a really good question, because there's actually a pretty important difference we need to clear up.
You see, before you even get to the BOQ, there's another step called the quantity takeoff, or QTO. The QTO is all about the raw measurement. It's where the quantity surveyor digs through all the plans and drawings to answer one question. How much stuff do we need? That's it. The BOQ comes next. It takes all that raw data from the QTO and whips it into shape, organizing it into a structured document that contractors can actually put a price on. So, a simple way to think about it is the QTO is the how much, and the BOQ is the how much will it cost.
All right, so that's the what. Now let's talk about the why. Why is this thing so indispensable?
Well, for starters, it's all about fairness. When every contractor bids on a project using the exact same BOQ, it creates a totally level playing field. Everyone is pricing the exact same amount of work, so you can get a true apples-to-apples comparison. No guesswork. But it's not just for bidding. It's also a powerful tool for controlling costs once the project is underway. It helps you figure out the cost of any changes, manage payments to the contractor, and because everything is so clear, it seriously cuts down on the risk of arguments and disputes later on.
So how do they actually do it? How does a stack of drawings become this powerful financial tool? Let's walk through the process.
First up, the QS has to become an expert on the project, studying every drawing and specification. Then they break the whole project down into smaller, manageable chunks. You know, things like foundations, the structure, the electrical systems, that kind of thing. Step 3 is that taking off part we talked about where they measure everything. After all the measuring is done, they have to classify and organize every single item. Then comes the pricing. They apply rates for materials, labor, equipment, you name it. And finally, the last step, add it all up to get the grand total.
And here's a really important point. This isn't just some random process. It's not guesswork. It's all guided by very strict professional standards, like the new rules of measurement published by RICS. Think of these as the official rule books. They make sure that every BOQ is prepared in a consistent way so everyone in the industry is on the same page, speaking the same financial language.
But look, even with all these rules, it's still a really complex job done by humans. And whenever you have complexity in humans, well, you've got the potential for mistakes. And in this game, mistakes can be really, really expensive.
Yeah, the stakes are just sky high. An error in a bill of quantities isn't just a simple mistake. It's more like a financial landmine. One wrong number can cause disputes, blow the budget wide open, create huge delays. It can honestly derail the entire project.
So what kind of mistakes are we talking about? Well, it can be something as simple as just measuring wrong, getting an area or a volume incorrect. Or maybe the descriptions are too vague, so different bidders interpret them differently. A huge one is just forgetting stuff entirely, like, whoops, forgot to include the cost for all the scaffolding. And then, of course, there are just basic math mistakes when adding everything up. And you know what's at the root of a lot of this? The old school way of doing things, especially relying on spreadsheets. They are just a breeding ground for human error.
And that's a perfect lead-in to where things are headed. Because let's face it, projects are only getting more complicated. The industry is finally starting to move away from the humble spreadsheet and towards some seriously powerful tech.
The future is really about two things: integration and intelligence. You've got amazing tools like BIM, that's Building Information Modeling, where the quantities can be pulled automatically from a 3D model of the building. That right there wipes out a ton of human error. Then you have AI tools that can actually scan a BOQ and flag mistakes for you. And it's all moving to the cloud, so the whole team can collaborate in real time, and you know for sure everyone's looking at the most up-to-date document. So, this is the big question everyone's asking now. As projects get more and more complex, how do we make sure our data is perfect and our entire process is, well, seamless? The old way just doesn't cut it anymore. There's this massive push for better accuracy and efficiency, and it's forcing a huge digital shift, getting teams away from the very tools like spreadsheets that create so many of these headaches in the first place.
I mean, if you work in construction, you know this pain all too well, right? Trying to run a massive project using a bunch of clunky, disconnected spreadsheets. One little formula error, and boom, you've just cost the project thousands of dollars.
Or how about this one? Trying to keep track of important decisions that are buried in some chaotic WhatsApp group with 100 notifications. It's a nightmare. It's just not how you run a modern construction project that needs to be precise.
And that's exactly why it's time to go digital. It's time to upgrade your workflow. And that's where platforms like Lementai.com come in, because they're designed to solve these exact problems.
Lementai is a construction management platform built to do one thing: get you off of those messy spreadsheets and out of those endless WhatsApp groups. It brings your whole team, all your project data, and your entire workflow together in one clean, simple system. Best part? You can start for free.
This explainer was brought to you by Lementai. Hey, thanks for watching.